In today's video, we're going to talk about Resurgent Capital Services, also known as LVNV funding. We're going to review who they are, what they can never do, their contact information, and 2 steps to dealing with Resurgent. Resurgent Capital Services is a third-party debt collection agency. This means they purchased an old alleged debt of yours for mere pennies on the dollar. Resurgent is associated with LVNV funding. It appears that Resurgent will purchase a debt account and then LVNV funding will perform the collection efforts. If you are currently being contacted by Resurgent Capital Services, it is important to know that they are required to follow strict federal guidelines. They cannot threaten to arrest or imprison you, freeze your assets without proper procedure, threaten bodily harm, threaten action against your family or loved ones, or even continue to contact you if they are properly requested that they stop. For a complete list of federal regulations governing how debt collectors can attempt to collect payment from you, please review the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. If your rights have been violated, then Resurgent Capital Services can be found liable and be required to pay you $1,000 for damages. Contact information: Resurgent Capital Services, 15 South Main Street, Suite 600, Greenville, South Carolina 29601. Their phone number is 1-800-365-7107, and their website is resurgent.com. How to deal with Resurgent Capital Services. If you're currently being contacted by Resurgent Capital Services, there are a few key things to consider before you make a payment. Number 1, is this your debt? Do you recognize the debt that Resurgent is contacting you for payment on? It's not unusual for collection agencies to drop the ball. Debt collectors have attempted to collect payment from individuals who never actually owned a debt. In other words, the wrong person. Did you know some people have even been sued in a court of law for repayment of a debt they never created? Most often, this is a case of mistaken identity, but it has happened and more than once. Number 2, are you still legally responsible for repayment? Most consumer debts are governed by the statute of limitations. This is a legal mandate that says you are only legally responsible for repayment of a debt for a specific number of years. If your debt has aged past the statute of limitations, then you are no longer legally obligated to make payment. The statute of limitations varies from state to state. It is important to take this into consideration because you may not still be responsible for the debt. How to protect yourself from Resurgent. If you are currently dealing with bill collectors and their high-pressure tactics, it would be smart to consider getting expert help. We would encourage you to first start by requesting that Resurgent validate your debt. This is your way of saying, prove this is my debt, and then we can talk about repayment. Resurgent should respond to your debt validation letter within 30 days of receipt. It is important that you send this letter using certified mail, should you need proof of this. If Resurgent Capital Services does not validate your debt, then you are no longer responsible for repayment. In addition, they are supposed to contact all 3 of the 3 major credit bureaus and ask them to remove negative credit they have reported about you, such as a collections on your credit report. If Resurgent does not validate your debt if Resurgent does validate your debt and it is your account, then you should negotiate a settlement payment. It is vital that you get Resurgent to agree to stop reporting your account information to the credit bureaus in exchange for your payment. If you do not get Resurgent to make this agreement, then when you make a settlement payment, the collection on your credit reports will simply be changed to a paid collection. This is still a derogatory mark and will damage your overall credit rating. There are many reports, including on the Resurgent website, that consumers are being threatened with manipulative, unethical, and even illegal collection tactics. The Resurgent website asks that you contact them if you believe you have been a victim. However, we would strongly encourage you to first contact a consumer credit attorney. along with reporting it to your Attorney General and the Federal Trade Commission before you notify Resurgent. We cannot say for certain, but this raises big alarm bells that Resurgent Capital Services may have rogue collection agencies engaging in illegal tactics. However, it is possible that these are unaffiliated companies or individuals acting on their own volition and just using the Resurgent name. We strongly advise you not to simply report this behavior to Resurgent. By nature, a collection agency has an adversarial relationship with you and every consumer they contact. In other words, even if Resurgent Capital Services is not responsible for this illegal behavior, they are not going to help you. Your interests are not relevant. They are simply looking to protect themselves and avoid a federal fine. It is possible they are responsible for this illegal behavior. If they are responsible, the authorities need to be notified so they can put a stop to it. You do not have to just live with constant phone calls and written letters from collection agencies. You don't even have to live with bad credit for 7 long years. Badcreditcard.net